Good morning. Good morning. Don't you feel like something good's about to happen? I sure do. That we're at a unique moment in the life of the city where we're really going to move the needle on the west side of the city of Atlanta. It's really 1,000 acres that sits along Northside Drive that I think has some of the greatest potential really to make the city the best version of itself that it possibly can be.
I enjoyed them building the new dome. I think it's going to be an improvement for the whole city.
I say it is.
But it ain't helped the neighborhood over here.
It haven't.
But I remember they said they was going to improve the neighborhood. I ain't seen nothing being built over here.
It's more work got to be done out here. There's a lot of more work got to be done. And we need to still just dwell in the money on the stadium and all of this.
My nickname for the dome is Godzilla. I don't know if you remember back then, but they'd be pointing to this big monster coming at them. And that's the way the dome was to me, like this big monster.
They offered me $175,000 for this home, and that is crazy because I remember about 3 years ago this home wasn't worth more than $35,000.
I mean, I was just straightening up and I saw 3 letters that said, we just were driving by your house, do you want to sell your house? Because they know that this is red line. They know that this is the next hot area, and if they could get in and buy it cheap, that's what they want to do.
They're coming over here buying up cheap, okay? Buying it cheap. I'm telling you, they whooping it up cheap. And then they throw us out.
It's not the question of the plan, it's the question of the process. If the process denies us as residents, we have been done to. I don't get done to.
This concrete won't forget whose blood built it. Gentrification ain't nothing but some no-name heifer trying to steal my land, but this dirt ain't nothing but an accumulation of my people's footprints. We be something the rain can't wash out. What's a bulldozer to my grandmother's memory? We built the hands you're trying to tear us down with. You think I need a key to get into my own home? These doors know my face better than your whips ever did. You think just cause you like black music, the floorboards won't swallow you? These streets will never forget my name. These streets are drunk off my blood. What's your blood taste like? Do you even know how to bleed? Why you want something you ain't bleed for? Even Jesus can tell you that ain't right.
I've known about the new stadium since 2008. I accidentally stumbled on that information when I moved here, and because I'm a 50-year political activist, I know what it means when stadiums are coming. It doesn't mean anything productive for neighborhoods. It always heralds the beginning of gentrification.
Gentrification is a word that's used to describe that process where a neighborhood starts to get better. The stores get better, the schools get better, the services get better. And in that process, the residents who have lived there and made that neighborhood their community for their lives begin to get pushed out by a new set of residents who take advantage or who have the advantage of making use of all the improvements in the neighborhood.
Gentrification, unbeknownst to a lot of people, starts way, way before you see it. It starts with the deliberate, intentional disinvestment in communities. So this house, owned by a family for over 100 years. And the parents raised their children, they became prosperous. All of them went to the AU Center schools of one or the other, became prosperous, moved out. So that's one dynamic. There is the suburban draw. You know, African American people in inner city areas bought the propaganda that living in the suburbs is better than living in the city. So your depopulation starts with that. And then there's the dynamic of further deterioration with deliberate, intentional influx of drugs.
The neighborhoods that we've lived in all of a sudden are deemed as unsafe and people have to move.
I don't see plenty killers, I don't see shooting, I don't see everything. And I lost a son.
When we first got here, we had to run people up in front of our house. They wanted to do drugs and everything.
From the first year I was here, I used to hear a lot of gunshots. I used to hear about violence all the time.
The word notorious only begins to describe one of the biggest neighborhoods for heroin in the entire Southeast.
Yeah, absolutely. For decades, authorities and residents have struggled to fight drug dealers in a section of Atlanta many call the Bluff, but neighbors prefer the name English Avenue.
Purse snatchings, armed robberies, and carjackings. The same thing day after day, and the problem only seems to be getting worse.
In our society and our culture, we've never been here before. Drugs, mass incarceration, separation of family. We can say, oh, we know what it was like in the 70s, but when you have multiple generations or you have kids who grew up without their parents due to drugs or due to something, you don't know what that feels like. You don't know how to remedy that. And these prescribed, if we just build a house, if we just build a school, if we just pick up the trash, that's going to change the community. That's the aesthetics.
We did new housing, but we didn't help our people develop personally, socially, politically, educationally, economically, culturally. And so within a short period of time, 5-10 years, we had new housing that looked like the old housing. And so there has to be an intentionality about how do we develop our people. The prostitute, for me, has a right to stay here. She's lived here, made her living here. But the way that she's making her living won't fit where we're going. How do we help her stay here and become a contributing member? The drug dealer who made his or her living here has a right to stay here and be a part of transforming this community using what you know and I know is his or her brilliance.
We ought to be taking a look at the small businesses as well as the residents and making sure that they have the support and resources to continue in the neighborhood as the neighborhood develops.
So the Westside to me means legacy. The Westside to me means tradition. The Westside to me means all things that are about the progress of black people. So that's what it means to me. It means home.
This is the blessing that I have received. Because I thought all my life I'd be living from pillar to post or either living in apartments. I always said I want me a house built from the ground up. I want mine brand new. We didn't choose this area. We didn't choose this. It was already presented to us. So once they presented it, I wasn't going to turn it down. Not brand new, with our own bare hands.
Not coming from the projects. We got our own yard. In the projects, we had to get out the neighbor's yard, and it was just a piece of red dirt. Now we got all our brown, red dirt, everything.
The home I am in now is a family home. And if the family can't find anybody else, they can find 546 James P. Brawley Drive. This is where they are come. You know we love it because we've been here so long. And we done seen the good, the bad, we done seen the ins and the outs, but we are still here. And we want to stay here.
I'm born and raised in the East Avenue community for 50 years. Everything's lovely around here. Everybody respect each other, their parents and stuff. Because if you disrespect that parent, if your mother father not around, you're gonna get a spanking.
The people are special in the West End. What's so special about the West End is the people. Diverse, from all walks of life. The people who may not have so much walking up and down the street to people who drive all the way from Alpharetta to get our food. Just the characters that you see, the stability of Soul Beds being a beacon of life in the community. I think that makes the West End special. There are businesses that's been in this community for years and years and years, and I think that makes it really special.
The West End community is very, very important to me. I always say it is the last place that Afro-Americans can come, no matter what your issues are. If you're mentally ill, if you've just been released from the hospital, if you're having stresses and you just want to come and just connect, or if you're from another state and you've heard about the West End and you want to see where a lot of blacks are. So this is where they come. And it has a lot of value here, it has a lot of purpose, it has a lot of rich history.
The choice that I made was to live in community. We have neighbors that may be on Section 8, neighbors that may live in their parents' house and it's been passed down for a couple of generations. We have new neighbors that may be in habitat houses or new first-time homeowners. So you have a variety, and in that variety you have kind of like a gumbo, a soup if you will, and all those flavors just kind of emerge and you stir it up, and then you have this amazing combination of things that you wouldn't have with one singular taste.
I'm a resident of English Avenue by choice. I live where the need is. For me, I'm a light, and I live where light is needed.
The roof is leaking,
okay.
The bathroom's falling apart, the kitchen is gone. Okay, I need it all fixed. And Arthur Blank said they was gonna fix it before the Super Bowl, and here it is, way after the Super Bowl, and ain't nothing's been done but people coming through my house, taking measurements, and I ain't got a damn thing done. I would just like for somebody to step up to the plate and fix my house like they promised. That's what I would like. You can't get it to Arthur Blank. Every time I ask for that man's phone number, his assistant's phone number, won't nobody give it to me. They just pass the buck around. We ought to go on TV tomorrow, you know what I'm saying?
No, we should not.
Yes, we ought to go on TV tomorrow.
No.
So Mr. Blank can see what his organization ain't doing for the neighborhood. And that's the God's truth.
The Arthur Blank Foundation, they show up because they have a plan for what they believe we need.
One of the central challenges we have is concentrated poverty. Well, you got to deconcentrate it. Well, that means you have to have new folks moving in to help deconcentrate it.
The west side of Atlanta, and I'm speaking now especially about the area kind of east of Lowry, so Vine City, English Avenue, and so forth, is adjacent to downtown Atlanta. I mean, there's a huge transportation infrastructure that was built there many years ago. We got 2 MARTA stations. You know, it just has attributes that lend themselves to development. As the city grows, really the growth will likely be on the west side and the south side of the city. We've had a lot of growth in the north and the east side of the city, and so for the city to grow and given the potential for growth, we have to be very careful about how the west side grows in particular, which is why we're really focused on that.
People want to be able to get rid of the blight. You know, 'cause there is a lot of blight. They want to have a lot of the same amenities folks take for granted who live in other parts of Atlanta, in terms of parks, in terms of roads that don't have potholes, lighting that works, access to coffee shops, all these things that other folks have and you don't have here. And so from our perspective is how can we work with both the residents that are here and the new folks that want to come to create a more inclusive neighborhood that looks like a lot of the other neighborhoods.
We don't want to like Buckhead. We want this neighborhood. We want
we do.
houses.
Yes, we do.
I don't want no Buckhead. You can put new apartments over there. I don't want all that. This is the neighborhood for children, for old people to sit on their porch. That's what we need right here. And they better not try to change it. I'm going on the fence. Yeah, stay out of this one.
The game plan is already in place, and we're brought to the table thinking that we are shaping what's there. And in actuality, what we're doing is providing our voice to what is already being thought about.
There's a point at which the neighborhood begins to come back to life and it's still affordable, right? And then there's a point at which it tips over.
I'm afraid to stay here because they now bought this community, this whole block, okay? And I'm kind of afraid to stay and I'm kind of afraid to go. I don't know what to do, you know, because the rent going up so high.
People on fixed income. Why go up on the rent that they can't afford? Then they be outdoors.
If there are not plans for how to put a cap on the taxes, you will have natural gentrification because people will not be able to afford to pay the taxes. If there are not programs that provide financing for rental arrangements so that renters can stay here and not have their rents increased, you'll have natural gentrification, and everybody will say, well, we tried.
8% of the people who live on the west side in these neighborhoods own their homes. So over 92% are renters.
We don't have any opportunity right now as it relates to rent control type stuff in Georgia. I mean, that would require change to state law and those kinds of things, which the community may decide is a good idea and worth it to do that for Atlanta, but that would be quite an effort.
One of the ways that we as a people can stay rooted in our community has been missed. We didn't buy property.
The amount that you're paying for rent, usually in an apartment, could possibly be paid to own. The problem is people don't have that down payment. And the problem is that often people don't have good credit. The problem is that people don't have employment. You have to have employment for a bank to give you a loan. So we've got to make sure that these opportunities are available to people who are trying to be homeowners.
There's always hidden agendas around redevelopment. There are always plans that we at this level are not privy to in terms of the direction that a city might be going in. So let's start with the general fact that citizens never know all of the plans that are in place for moving forward with their communities, because if we were, we would have had this conversation 10, 15 years ago in terms of where we're going.
Black and brown communities, and I do want to be explicit about saying Black and brown communities, have historically been ignored, neglected, isolated, and alienated from decision-making processes, right? So unfortunately, these communities, our communities, we don't even understand what agency looks like. We don't understand that our collective agency, our decision-making power as a group, because we have been intentionally educated to be ignorant.
Atlanta's great as a business city, right? There are lots of corporations, lots of Fortune 500 companies, and it's a great place to do business. But at the same time, Atlanta is not doing very well in eliminating the disparities between people who are caught in poverty and people who are doing well. And all of those issues, unstable housing, unemployment, schools that don't work, health disparities, health services that don't come to our communities, all of those things are ways of segregating us from everybody who's doing well. Gentrification is just one item on a very, very long list.
I'm here to help the people that want to keep their houses, keep their own lands in America, and to keep their own jobs also here in America. And not just only am I here for those two things, but I'm also here for reparations for my indigenous ancestors who lost their lands here in America since 1493, when the invasion of the Europeans began. Black lives do matter in this nation.
It really doesn't matter, you know, if the land is occupied by people that they don't want there because they got a plan for the land, then the plan includes removal of those people, i.e. the original indigenous people of America were Native American, and the land was needed, and the Native Americans were removed.
The condition in cities where low-income people are the most susceptible to displacement or the negative impacts of growth is also nothing new. That's always been the case in cities. And what we have to do right now, and we have this opportunity in Atlanta to do right at this moment, is put in place what would be kind of unprecedented measures to ensure that displacement is minimized.
Everything on the West Side, it has a racialized context. I think you just gotta be, it is what it is, right? And you gotta be cognizant of the fact because, you know, part of why you have what you have on the West Side is a function of concentrated poverty and a function of structural and institutional racism, right? And it's a perpetuated stuff, and it doesn't matter if Atlanta's a majority Black city, it's within the United States and it's within the Deep South, and that's just the nature of the beast.
You don't walk in my black skin, so you cannot know what I know. You cannot experience what I experience in terms of the racism that exists in this country. Racism has a long history in this country from the time of slavery. It is now an embedded, institutionalized, ideological place from which people operate. Black, white, rich, poor. Black people don't even know when they're operating in response to racism. The racism of today has become so institutionalized and insidious that it's hard for folks to see it. And when we say that it's racist, they don't understand. Gentrification is a product of racism.
Yeah. Racism, or matters around race, may be the most important issue of them all as it relates to these things. And I don't know of a good forum on that issue right now. I'm not aware of any. So, I mean, it's, you know, where you're really confronting the reality of that. I'm not familiar with that happening. Maybe someone's doing that, but I'm not familiar with it.
And we all built these houses together, but we the only ones still here.
Still here.
We love this neighborhood.
Really do. I'm not passing up. We built this house from the ground up.
I ain't leaving.
I'm not leaving.
I think that everyone that's currently here needs to make up their mind to stay, particularly homeowners. You know, we got a sign on our yard that says, "Not for sale." So this house is owned by my children.
I want my neighbors back so I can go outside and talk to them. Hey, you know, and how y'all doing? If you need anything, call me. And that is what I want back.
All the white folk coming up in here. They try to move us black people out of here. But I ain't going nowhere. Like I told them, they're going to push me out.
You come to this community, you're going to find somebody here. That person is not wrong because you just showed up on the scene. You can't just erase them or say the way that they're living is wrong. You got to be able to respectfully be a part of somebody's life.
Why come in and try to take everything from us and our history and building, you know, doing things that is going to make us feel small. Let us all just be just one big happy family and work together, live together, be happy, you know, and just be family.
The truth is, I think that we all have to worry. It has to be something that keeps us up a little bit at night, that keeps us on our P's and Q's. But what I'll say to my community members, friends, people who know me is every time we pump our fists, every time we throw our hands up, we are saying that we're here, we're going to be here, and we're going to keep fighting through whatever it has to be to make sure we survive. We're survivors.
Rooted means that you stand and stay where you are. You don't move, you don't go anywhere. You know, that you demand that the redevelopment provide the resources for your home to fit into the new Westside.
You gentrify my culture just to sell me a dream. But I've been woke. See, I've been educated by the power of my kinfolk. See, I've been liberated by the power of this info. I share it to my people by rapping on instrumentals. They try to sell me a dream. But I've been woke. I've been educated by the power of my kinfolk. See, I've been liberated by the power of this info. I share it with my people by rapping on instrumentals. They try to sell us a dream.